In a distant future, humanity had spread out among the stars, exploring new planets and meeting different alien species. One of these species was known as Deathworlders. Deathworlders came from planets that were very dangerous and hostile, where survival was a daily struggle. They were strong, tough, and often very different from humans. On a human spaceship named the Starlight Voyager, a small Deathworlder girl named Mira was brought aboard. She was not very big, but her green skin and bright yellow eyes made her stand out. The crew of the Starlight Voyager was both curious and afraid of her at the same time. They had heard stories about Deathworlders and how fierce they could be, but Mira just sat quietly in a corner, not moving or speaking. The crew was a mix of humans from different backgrounds. The captain was a tall man named Jake, who had a reputation for being fair and kind, told the crew to treat Mira with respect, but many of them still felt uneasy around her. They were not sure how to act in front of someone so different. At first, Mira seemed to be a ghost on the ship. She rarely looked at anyone and spent most of her time watching the walls or staring out of the windows at the stars. The crew went about their daily tasks, sometimes glancing her way, but she remained still and silent, like a statue. One day, while the crew was having lunch, a brash young man named Kyle decided to make fun of Mira. He thought it would be funny to poke at her with jokes about her home planet. Kyle was known for his loud mouth and reckless behavior, often pushing the limits with his jokes. He walked over to where Mira sat and leaned in close to her, grinning widely. "Hey, green girl," he said, his voice dripping with sarcasm. "Do you eat rocks for breakfast? Or do you just chew on trees when you get hungry?" The other crew members stopped eating and looked at each other, unsure of what would happen next. They felt the tension rise in the room. Mira did not respond to Kyle's taunts. She just stared at him with her big yellow eyes, showing no emotion. The silence made Kyle even bolder. "Come on, don't be shy," he continued, leaning closer. "I bet you can't even speak human. Or is it just that you don't want to?" Mira remained still, her expression unchanged. The crew could feel the weight of the moment. They were waiting for her to react, to show some sign of anger or fear, but she did nothing. Instead, she just kept staring at the wall behind Kyle as if he didn't exist. Days went by, and Kyle continued to harass Mira. He thought it was fun to see how far he could push her. He would sneak up on her and make loud noises, hoping to provoke a reaction. But Myra remained silent and still, which only made Kyle more frustrated. One evening, during a game night, Kyle decided to take things too far. The crew was gathered in the common area, playing cards and sharing stories. Mira sat in her usual spot, quietly observing. Kyle, filled with bravado, approached her once again. "Hey, Deathworlder," yelled, drawing the attention of everyone. "In the room? Why don't you join us? Or are you too scared to lose to us humans?" The crew shifted uncomfortably. They didn't like Kyle's tone, but he was known for his antics. Mira looked at him for the first time, her yellow eyes narrowing. It was a small movement, but it caught everyone's attention. "Why don't you just go back to your rock where you belong?" he taunted, laughing loudly at that moment. Something inside Mira changed. She stood up quickly, surprising everyone. In an instant, she moved towards Kyle with a speed no one expected. The room went silent as she reached out and grabbed him. By the collar of his shirt, in one swift motion, Mira hurled Kyle across the room. He flew through the air and crashed against the wall with a loud thud. The sound of his body hitting the metal structure echoed throughout the common area. Everyone gasped in shock, their eyes wide in disbelief. Kyle lay on the floor, groaning in pain. The crew rushed to his side, some of them helping him sit up. Jake quickly moved forward, his expression serious. "What happened?" he asked, concerned. Etched on his face, I think I broke something," Kyle mumbled, clutching his back. He was in shock, realizing that he had pushed Myra too far. Laura, the ship's medical officer, quickly assessed the situation. She had seen many injuries in her time aboard the Starlight Voyager, but this was different. "We need to get him." "To the infirmary," she said, her voice calm but urgent, as they helped Kyle to his feet. Glanced over at Mira, who stood frozen in place. Her eyes were wide, and she looked both frightened and confused by her own actions. Jake approached her gently. "Mira, it's okay. You didn't do anything wrong. It was bothering you," he said softly. Mira looked at Jake, her heart racing. She had never used her strength like that before. It scared her, and she didn't know how to process what had just happened. The crew helped Kyle to the infirmary, and as they left, Mira felt a mix of emotions swirling inside her. She had defended herself, but at what cost? The crew had seen her strength, and she worried about what they would think of her now. Why she had come aboard the Starlight Voyager, hoping to find a place where she belonged. But now she felt more alone than ever. As the ship continued its journey through the stars, Mira stood by the window, looking out at the endless expanse of space. She could see the bright lights of distant stars twinkling in the darkness. It was beautiful, but it felt empty to her. She wished for connection, for friendship, but she feared what her strength might mean for her future aboard the ship. In the days that followed, the atmosphere on the ship changed. Kyle was recovering, but the crew was still talking about the incident. Some were impressed by Mira's strength, while others were unsure of how to approach her. They had seen a side of her that was unexpected and powerful. How could they treat her like before, after witnessing such an event? Mira felt the weight of their stares, and it made her anxious. She wanted to be accepted, but she didn't know how to fit in. She continued to keep her distance from the crew, sticking to the shadows of the ship, but Jake was determined to help her. He understood that Mira was special and that she needed support. He began to spend more time with her, asking her about her home and her life. Slowly, Mira started to open up. She shared stories of her world, filled with dangers and challenges that shaped her into who she was. Jake listened intently, fascinated by her experiences. He admired her strength and resilience. As their bond grew, Mira felt a flicker of hope. Perhaps she could find a place on this ship after all. But the memory of that day lingered in the back of her mind. She was still scared of her own power. Would she be accepted, or would fear keep her alone? Only time would tell. As the days passed on the Starlight Voyager, life began to settle into a new routine. The crew members were still talking about the incident with Mira and Kyle, but slowly, the initial shock wore off. Weil was recovering from his injuries, and he spent much of his time in the infirmary, where Laura was taking care of him. He had to learn to move carefully as the pain in his back reminded him of what had happened. Mira had avoided the common areas of the ship, feeling both anxious and uncertain about how her crewmates viewed her. She often stayed in her corner. Watching the stars through the window, she found comfort in the vastness of space, where everything felt quiet and peaceful. But Jake was determined to reach out to her. He knew that she had more to offer than just her strength. One day, Jake decided to invite Mira to join the crew for a meal. He thought it would help her feel more included. He approached her gently, sitting down in front of her. "About joining us for dinner tonight. It'll be fun, and we can all share stories," he suggested, hoping to encourage her. Mira looked at him, unsure. "I don't know if I fit in," she replied softly. Her voice was barely above a whisper. Jake smiled warmly. "You do belong, Mira. We want to get to know you better. You're part of our crew now," he reassured her. After a moment of hesitation, Mira agreed to join them. That evening, she entered the common area where the crew gathered. The atmosphere was lively, filled with laughter and the sound of voices. As she walked in, heads turned, and the room fell silent. Mira felt a knot tighten in her stomach. She was nervous, but Jake gave her an encouraging nod. Kyle, sitting at one of the tables, noticed her and raised his hand. "Hey, Mira," he called out, his voice friendly but careful. "I just wanted to say I'm sorry for how I acted before. I was a jerk. I hope we can start over." Mira looked at him, surprised. She had not expected an apology. "Thank you," she replied, her voice steady. It was a small step, but it felt significant. As Myra took a seat, the crew resumed their conversations. Jake introduced her to everyone, and they shared stories about their adventures in space. Mira listened intently, intrigued by their experiences. She began to relax, realizing that these people were not so different from her. They all had their struggles and dreams. Kyle, trying to keep the mood light, told a funny story about a time he got lost on a planet and ended up in a swamp filled with strange creatures. The crew laughed heartily, and even Mira found herself smiling. It felt good to be part of a group, even if just for a moment. After dinner, Jake suggested a game to help everyone bond further. "Let's play a game of questions," he proposed. "We each take turns asking a question that everyone has to answer. It can be funny, serious, or anything in between." The crew agreed, and they started with simple questions like favorite foods or hobbies. When it was Mira's turn, she hesitated, but then took a deep breath. "What is the most dangerous thing you've faced in space?" she asked, her curiosity shining through. The crew shared their stories, revealing their own brushes with danger. Each tale was more thrilling than the last, and Mira listened with wide eyes. She could feel a sense of camaraderie growing among them. For the first time, she felt like she was part of something bigger than herself. As the game continued, Kyle asked Mira a question. "What was your homeworld like?" His tone was genuine, and he seemed genuinely interested. Mira paused, thinking. "About her home, it is harsh and beautiful," she began. "The trees are tall, and the sky is often dark. The creatures there are strong, and we have to be even stronger to survive." The crew listened, captivated. Mira spoke about the dangers she faced every day and the skills she had learned to protect herself. She felt a sense of pride in her words, realizing that her strength was not something to be ashamed of. After a while, the game faded into laughter and chatter. Mira began to feel more comfortable, more like herself. She even joined in on some jokes, surprising herself with her own laughter. For the first time, she felt a sense of belonging. As the night came to an end, the crew began to leave the common area, each person feeling lighter and more connected. Jake walked alongside Mira, smiling. "See, you did great." "I knew you had it in you," he said, genuinely pleased. Mira felt a warmth rise in her chest. "Thank you for inviting me," she replied, her voice more confident now. "I had fun." The next few days, Mira became more involved with the crew. They worked together, trained together, and shared stories during meals. She found herself laughing more often and even joining in on their games. The crew began to see her not just as a Death Worlder, but as a friend. However, the memory of her outburst against Kyle still lingered in her mind. She was determined to keep her strength in check, fearing that she might hurt someone again. She trained with Jake, who encouraged her to channel her power in a positive way. He taught her to use her strength for protection rather than aggression. One day, Jake suggested a training session in the ship's gym. "Let's work on some techniques to help you control your strength," he proposed. Mira agreed, eager to learn how to better manage her abilities. In the gym, Jake showed her various exercises that would help her build control over her movements. "It's not just about being strong, but about knowing how to use that strength." Wisely, he explained, Mira practiced diligently, following Jake's instructions closely. As she moved through the drills, she felt more in tune with her body. She was learning to balance her power with grace, something that made her feel empowered instead of afraid. After the training session, Jake praised her efforts. "You're getting better, Mira. Just remember, strength also comes from the heart. You have to believe in yourself," he encouraged her. With each passing day, Mira grew more confident. She found joy in her friendships and strength in her abilities. The crew accepted her for who she was. She felt a sense of peace she hadn't experienced before. But deep down, she still worried about the consequences of her strength. What if she lost control again? What if someone got hurt? These thoughts haunted her, but she pushed them aside. Determined to focus on the present, as the Starlight Voyager continued its journey through the stars, Mira embraced her new life. She was no longer just a Death Worlder girl. She was part of a crew, a family. Together they would face whatever challenges lay ahead, and Mira was ready to stand strong with them. As time passed on the Starlight Voyager, Mira continued to grow closer to the crew. She felt more at home, and the fear she once had about her strength began to fade. The crew accepted her, and even though she still worried about her power, she found comfort in the friendships she was building. One afternoon, the ship received a distress signal from a nearby planet. The crew gathered in the command center to discuss what to do. Jake stood at the front, looking serious. We need to investigate this signal. It could be a ship in trouble, he explained. Kyle, who had been healing from his injuries, spoke. Up. I can help. I want to show that I can be useful, he said, determination in his voice. The crew looked at him, surprised but supportive. Jake nodded. All right, Kyle. We'll need all hands on deck. Mira, do you want to come with us? He asked, turning to her. Mira felt a rush of excitement. Yes, I want to help, she replied. The crew prepared the ship to head toward the source of the distress signal. As they approached the planet, they scanned the area for any signs of danger. The planet was covered in dense forests and mountains, with swirling clouds. Above, Jake piloted the ship closer to the surface, and the crew could see a small ship that appeared to be damaged. Looks like they need help, he said, pointing at the wreckage. The crew quickly suited up and prepared to leave the ship. Myra felt a mix of nerves and excitement as she followed Jake and the others to the airlock. They exited the Starlight. Voyager had made their way to the damaged ship. When they reached the wreck, they found a small group of aliens huddled together, looking frightened. They had large blue eyes and skin that shimmered like water. Their ship had crashed and was now smoking. The crew approached cautiously. Are you all right? Jake asked, speaking slowly. One of the aliens stepped forward. We need help. Our ship is broken, and we cannot take off, it said in a shaky voice. Mira felt empathy for the aliens. She understood what it was like to be in a dangerous situation. We can help you, she said, looking at Jake. The crew quickly assessed the damage to the alien ship. Laura examined the ship's systems and determined that they would need to replace some parts to get it working again. We can bring some tools from our ship, she suggested. Jake agreed. Kyle, Mira, stay here with the aliens. Laura and I will go back to the Starlight Voyager to get what we need, he ordered. As Jake and Laura left, Mira turned to the aliens. My name is Myra. What are your names? She asked gently. The aliens looked at each other, unsure. I am Rena, one said, and the others introduced themselves as well. They seemed relieved to have someone to talk to. Mira noticed how scared they looked, especially the small ones who clung to Rena. You will be safe. We're here to help, she reassured them. Kyle, feeling a bit awkward, tried to lighten the mood. So, how did you guys end up crashing here? Did you hit a space rock? He joked, trying to make them smile. Rena gave a small laugh. No, we were chased by space pirates. They damaged our ship, she explained. Mira listened closely. Feeling anger arise at the thought of pirates attacking innocent creatures, that is terrible. You should not be in danger, she said. The aliens nodded, their expressions serious. They shared more about their journey, explaining that they were explorers looking for new worlds. Mira admired their bravery. After a while, Jake and Laura returned with tools and parts from the Starlight Voyager. They got to work on the damaged ship, and Mira helped where she could. She was careful with her strength, making sure not to accidentally break anything. While they worked, Mira felt a sense of purpose. This was her chance to use her abilities for good. Jake praised her efforts, and she felt proud to be part of the team. As the sun began to set, the crew made significant progress on the alien ship. Rena and the others watched with hope in their eyes. Thank you for helping us, Rena said. Thought we would be stuck here forever, Mira smiled back. You are not alone. We will make sure you can leave, she promised. Finally, after hours of hard work, the repairs were complete. Jake climbed into the cockpit of the alien ship to test the systems. Everything looks good. You should be able to take off now, he announced. The aliens cheered, their faces lighting up with joy. Thank you, they exclaimed. Jumping up and down, Mara felt a warm feeling in her heart. She had helped someone in need, and it felt incredible. You're welcome. Just be careful out there, she said, reminding them. After a few final checks, Rena climbed back into the cockpit. We will never forget your kindness. You've saved us, she said, her voice full of gratitude. The engines of the alien ship roared to life, and the crew watched as the ship lifted off the ground. It climbed steadily into the sky, disappearing into the clouds. Myra waved goodbye, feeling a sense of accomplishment. Once the aliens were safe, the crew returned to the Starlight Voyager. They were tired, but happy. Jake turned to Mira and Kyle. You both did great today. It took teamwork to help those aliens, and I am proud of you, he said. Kyle grinned, feeling good about his contribution. Thanks, Jake. I just wanted to prove I could be useful, he admitted. Mira felt grateful to be part of such a supportive crew. She had grown so much since arriving on the ship. Her fear of her strength was still there, but now she was learning to use it for good. As the Starlight Voyager continued its journey through the stars, Mira reflected on the day's events. She had faced danger and uncertainty, but she had also found friendship and purpose. She knew that together they could overcome any challenge that came their way. The crew celebrated their successful mission with a small gathering in the common area. They shared stories and laughter, and Mira felt a sense of belonging that she had never known before as the night went on. She realized that she was no longer just a Death Worlder girl. She was a valued member of the crew, a friend, someone who could make a difference. Myra looked around at her crewmates, feeling grateful for the bonds they had formed. She knew that whatever adventures lay ahead, they would face them together. And with that thought in her mind, she smiled brightly, ready for whatever the universe had in store. After the successful mission to help the aliens, the crew of the Starlight Voyager felt a new sense of unity. They had faced a challenge together, and it brought them closer. Mira continued to grow in confidence, enjoying her place among her crewmates. Each day, she felt more like a part of the family aboard the ship. One morning, as the ship traveled through a quiet part of space, Jake called a meeting in the command center. The crew gathered, curious about what he had to say. Mira sat quietly among them, excited but also a bit nervous. "All right, everyone," Jake began, a serious look on his face. "We have received some information about a nearby planet that may have valuable resources. We need to investigate it. This could be an important opportunity for us." The crew murmured among themselves, discussing the possibilities. Kyle leaned forward, a bright smile on his face. "I'm ready for another adventure. Let's go get those resources," he said, eager to prove himself again. Mira felt a mix of excitement and fear. She loved the idea of exploring a new planet, but she also worried about what dangers might await them. She looked at Jake, who seemed confident. What do we know about this planet?" she asked. "There are some reports of dangerous wildlife, but the resources could be worth the risk," Jake replied. "We'll need to be careful and stick together." The crew prepared for the mission, gathering supplies and equipment for the exploration. Mira felt her heart racing as they got closer to the planet. She could see it through the ship's windows. A vibrant world covered in lush green forests and mountains. When they landed, the crew stepped out onto the soft ground. The air was fresh, and the sounds of nature surrounded them. Birds with bright feathers flew overhead, and curious creatures peeked out from behind the trees. Jake led the way, with Mira and Kyle close behind. "Remember, stay alert," he reminded. "Then we don't know what we might encounter." As they walked deeper into the forest, Mira felt a sense of wonder. The trees were enormous, their trunks thick and covered in strange vines. Flowers of every color bloomed around them, and the ground was soft underfoot. She couldn't help but smile at the beauty of the planet. Suddenly, a loud noise echoed through the trees. The crew stopped in their tracks, hearts racing. "Was that?" Kyle asked, his eyes wide. "I don't know, but let's stay close together," Jake instructed. They moved cautiously, scanning the area for any signs of danger. As they continued, they stumbled upon a clearing filled with strange, glowing plants. Mira was fascinated. "Look at these," she exclaimed, kneeling down to touch one of the glowing flowers. But before she could get too close, a loud growl erupted from the bushes nearby. The crew froze, and Mira's heart sank. Out of the underbrush came a large creature with sharp teeth and glowing eyes. It was covered in thick fur and seemed very aggressive. "Back away slowly," Jake shouted, trying to keep everyone calm. The crew began to back away, but the creature charged at them. Mira felt a surge of fear and adrenaline. She remembered her training and the power she held within her. "I can help," she yelled, stepping forward. "Mira, no," Jake called out, but it was too late. Mira focused her energy, channeling her strength into a powerful push. She launched herself at the creature, using her speed to dodge its attack. With a swift motion, she tackled the creature to the ground, pinning it down. The crew watched in shock as Mira held the beast still. "Stay back," she shouted to her crewmates, her voice firm. The creature struggled, but Mira held it tightly. She could feel its strength, but she was stronger. "I won't hurt you, I just want to help," she said, trying to calm it. Jake and the others stood frozen, unsure of what to do. Slowly, the creature stopped struggling, its breathing heavy. It seemed to sense that Mira did not want to harm it. After a tense moment, Mira eased her grip, looking into the creature's eyes. "I know you are scared," she said softly. "I don't want to hurt you." The creature let out a low growl, but did not fight back. Slowly, it relaxed under Mira's hold. Jake stepped forward cautiously. "Mira, are you okay?" he asked, concern in his voice. "I'm fine," she replied, still focused on the creature. "I think it's just scared and protecting its territory." As they began to calm the creature, Kyle found a few pieces of food from their supplies. "Maybe we can offer it something to eat," he suggested, holding out a small snack. Mira nodded carefully, reaching into her pack to grab some food as well. "Here we come in peace," she said, extending her hand with the food. To everyone's surprise, the creature sniffed the food cautiously. After a moment, it took a step forward, accepting the offering. Slowly, it began to eat, its eyes still watching Mira closely. The crew let out a collective sigh of relief. "You did it, Mira," Kyle exclaimed, excitement in his voice. "I calmed it down." Mira smiled, relieved and proud. She felt a sense of connection with the creature, understanding its fear and instincts. "We just need to show it that we mean no harm," she said. After a while, the creature finished eating and seemed to trust them more. It turned and walked away slowly, disappearing into the trees. The crew watched it go, amazed by what had just happened. "That was incredible, Mira," Jake said, placing a hand on her shoulder. "You showed great courage." Mira felt a swell of pride. "Thank you. I just wanted to help," she replied, still feeling the adrenaline in her veins. With the danger past, the crew continued their exploration of the planet. They found valuable resources, including strange plants and minerals that could be useful. For their ship, the day turned into a successful mission, and Mira felt a sense of accomplishment as they returned to the Starlight Voyager. The crew talked excitedly about their discoveries. Mira couldn't help but smile, feeling more confident than ever. She had faced her fears and used her strength to protect her friends. That night, they celebrated their success with a small feast on the ship. The crew gathered in the common area, sharing stories and laughter. "Mira, you are officially our hero," Kyle declared, raising a glass in her honor. The crew cheered, and Mira felt her cheeks flush with happiness. "I couldn't have done it without all of you," she said, her heart full. "We are a team." Yes. They enjoyed their meal. Mira realized how far she had come since joining the crew. She was no longer just a Deathworlder girl. She was a valued member of a family. Together, they would face whatever challenges lay ahead, and Mira was ready to stand strong with them. After the exciting adventure on the mysterious planet, life aboard the Starlight Voyager returned to its usual rhythm. The crew buzzed with energy, sharing stories about their discoveries and the creature that Mira had calmed down. It had become a legend among them, a tale of bravery and teamwork that would be told for years to come. Mira felt different after that day. She had faced her fears and used her strength to protect her friends. With each passing moment, she grew more confident in herself and her abilities. The crew accepted her fully, and she felt like she truly belonged. One day, as they traveled through the stars, Jake called another meeting. The crew gathered in the command center, eager to hear what he had to say. Mira sat among them, feeling excited and ready for whatever was next. "All right, everyone," Jake began, his voice steady. "We have been given a new mission. We need to deliver supplies to a nearby colony that has been struggling. They have had a tough time lately and need our help." The crew nodded, understanding the importance of the mission. Kyle leaned forward, his eyes sparkling with enthusiasm. I'm ready. Let's help them out. Mira felt a sense of purpose. What kind of supplies do they need? She asked, wanting to know how she could help. They need food, medical supplies, and some equipment for farming, Jake explained. We have everything on board, but we need to be careful. The colony is located in a region that has seen some pirate activity. The mention of pirates made everyone uneasy. Myra's heart raced at the thought of danger, but she also felt a surge of determination. We can protect the supplies, she said firmly. We won't let anything happen to them. Jake smiled, appreciating her spirit. That's the attitude we need. Let's prepare for the journey and make sure we're ready for anything. The crew worked hard to load the supplies onto the ship. They checked every container, making sure everything was secure. Mira helped organize the supplies, focusing on what they would need for the journey ahead. She felt a strong sense of responsibility. Knowing that they were helping others in need, as they set course for the colony, Myra felt a mix of excitement and anxiety. She knew they were heading into a potentially dangerous situation, but she also felt ready. She had proven herself before, and she was determined to do it again. The ship traveled through the dark expanse of space, stars twinkling around them. It was peaceful, but everyone remained alert. They knew that pirate ships could appear at any moment. They had to be prepared. As they approached the colony, they saw the settlement below. It was a small community with simple buildings and fields of crops. Mira felt a sense of hope, seeing the people working hard to sustain their way of life. But as they got closer, Jake's voice came over the comms. Everyone stay sharp. I'm detecting a ship approaching fast. It looks like a pirate ship. The crew's tension rose immediately. Mira's heart raced. What should we do? She asked, looking to Jake for guidance. We need to protect the supplies, Jake replied. Kyle, you and Mira man the weapons. Laura, get ready to help with repairs if needed. The rest of you, prepare for evasive maneuvers. She moved quickly to the weapon controls, her hands steady as she prepared for what was to come. The pirate ship drew nearer, its dark hull glinting in the light of the stars. Jake piloted the Starlight Voyager with skill, trying to outmaneuver the incoming threat. They're firing, he shouted. Mira's heart raced as she saw the bright flashes of light from the pirate ship. I'm ready, she called out. Focusing on the controls in front of her, the first blast hit the Voyager, shaking the ship. Mira felt the impact, but she stayed focused. She fired back at the pirate ship, her aim true. She could see the damage she was causing, and it fueled her determination. Keep firing, Kyle shouted, his voice filled with excitement. We can drive them away. Mira felt a rush as they exchanged fire with the pirates. The crew worked together, each member doing their part to protect the ship. Jake navigated expertly, avoiding the worst of the pirate attacks, but the pirates were relentless. They continued to pursue the Voyager. We need to get to the colony, Jake shouted. If we can reach them, we can protect the supplies. Mira could see the colony coming closer, but the pirate ship was closing in. We can do this, she said, her voice strong. We just need to hold them off a little longer. With a final burst of energy, Mira fired at the pirate ship again. This time, the shot hit its target, causing the pirates to veer off course. Yes, Kyle cheered, feeling the thrill of victory. Jake seized the moment and steered the Voyager toward the colony. We're almost there, called out as They entered the colony's atmosphere. The crew felt a wave of relief wash over them. They had made it. The pirate ship, realizing they were losing the chase, began to pull back. Once the ship had landed, the crew quickly unloaded the supplies. The colonists rushed forward, gratitude shining on their faces. "Thank you for coming. We were worried. We would not get the help we needed," one of the colonists said. Mira smiled, feeling proud of what they had accomplished. "We are happy to help," she replied warmly. Jake and the crew exchanged looks of triumph. They had faced danger head-on and emerged victorious. It was a moment of celebration and unity. As they worked to distribute the supplies, Mira looked around at her friends. They had fought together and protected each other. It had brought them closer. After everything was sorted, Jake gathered the crew together. "I just want to say how proud I am of all of you. We faced a challenge, and we did it together," he said, his voice full of pride. The crew cheered, feeling the weight of their teamwork. They had shown courage and strength, and it had made all the difference. That night, they celebrated with a feast in the colony. The settlers had prepared a banquet to thank the crew, and it was filled with delicious foods and laughter. Mira felt a sense of belonging wash over her. She was part of something bigger than herself. The crew had become her family, and together they could face anything. As they shared stories and enjoyed the evening, Mira realized that she had found her place in the universe. She was no longer just a Death Worlder girl. She was a hero and a friend. With the stars shining above them, Mira knew that more adventures awaited. Together, they would explore new worlds, face new challenges, and continue to help those in need. And she was ready for whatever came next, standing strong with her crew by her side.